I had this conversation with Karambir Kang, who is the area director of Taj Hotels in North America. And when we were having lunch in the Taj Boston, I asked him, what do you have to say about the culture of the Taj Group of Hotels and the strategy that you follow in order to align yourself with the culture? And what Karambir said is what I've put here as the title of this particular slide. He said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Very often we talk about aligning strategy to culture and ensure that there is greater resonance between the two. But if we see, culture is the unseen fundamental, the roots from which organizational strategy eventually come forth and the core competencies and the focus of the group or the companies emerges. So let me share with you something about the Taj Group. I asked him, how would you define the culture of the Taj Group of Hotels? And he used the word Tajness. So I asked him, what do you mean by Tajness? And he said, it's the overall feeling that you get when you enter a Taj property. It's not quantifiable, but it's something that you experience. From our conversation, I came to conclusion that there are two facets of this aspect of organization culture. So first was the emotion of genuine warmth that Taj represents. And that company takes great pride in calling themselves as the ambassadors of Asian hospitality. So while the Western chain of hotels have a very cookie cutter approach to hospitality and its management, here you have the Asian approach to hospitality and management, which is embodying the verse Atithi Devo Bhava, or guest is God. So we do anything that's required to make our guests happy. And probably it was for that reason that the employees sustained the organization culture with their blood. And it was mentioned this morning in the introductory message as to how the earlier session here in 2008 was held just the day after 26/11. And this is the biggest victim of 26/11 is the Taj Group of Hotels. And what we know, and there are case studies and there are movies and everything around that talks about this facet, that the employees, 600 of them, took it upon themselves to prevent any bullet spewing from those vengeful weapons hitting the customers. They made human chains. They stood before them, enabling them to run away from the hotel so that they are not harmed. When I had asked Mr. Raymond Bixon as to what is the reason for which they would have behaved in that fashion, because you don't train employees to give up their lives in terrorist attacks. There is something subconsciously in their mind which makes them committed to that particular cause. He said the reason for that is exactly this. The employees consider the Taj as their home and all the guests as a part of their family. And you cannot come to my home and do any injury to my guests because their well-being is my responsibility. So when we talk about empowering employees, this is the mindset resonates across the organization in a company like Taj, which makes their employees even give their lives. And what did the Taj Group of Hotels do in exchange? There is rarely any study on this, but this is something that I put together in my book, Win-Win Corporations, where there's an entire chapter on the Taj Group of Hotels. They did three things. Within 3 weeks of the attack, Taj once again opened its door to the guests. The employees were fearless, and so did the company show its fearlessness. Employee empowerment. Not a single of those 600 employees who worked at Taj Mahal Palace Hotel, Mumbai, was retrenched. They were sent for more training, for more empowerment, and given opportunity to work at other properties while Taj Mumbai gets into action. And they extended this service of disaster rehabilitation not only to those who were injured at Taj, but those who were injured across Mumbai. So here you see that the company stood by its employees in order to show that while they have empowered them to the extent that they gave up their lives for the company and for the guests, the company too would go beyond the obvious and do what it takes to stand behind. The other aspect here is about the approach of service to the guest. In my study on the Taj Hotels, and I'll come to other companies shortly, The Taj has an unwritten policy. Whatever decisions the employee takes in order to make the customer, the guest happy, all the way through the CEO will stand by them in order to support their decision because it was taken in the interest of the customer. So here you are empowering the employee to do anything that it takes to make the customer happy, and the employee is not a representative of the corporation, but he is an ambassador of the customer. So the employee is the ambassador of the customer, and he does whatever it takes to make her happy. In an internal study, they came up with this, that there are 41 touch points, they call the 41 moments of truth, wherein the employees end up having some form of interaction with the customers, whether it's at the reception, whether it's opening the door, whether it's in the restaurant, whether it is in the corridor. There are 41 occasions when the employees tend to interact with the guests in the hotel. What does it take for the employees to ensure that each of these 41 moments of truth turn out to be moments of delight for the customer is what the employees are constantly trained for. And as there is a famous Harvard case study on this, that they are keen to take employees who have an intense desire to serve. They hire for attitude and not aptitude. And ultimately, the customers are given an opportunity to acknowledge the performance by individual employees and not just the supervisor. So their performance, in order to uphold the Taj culture of delighting customers, gets included in their appraisal. So you see how measurement, an enabling ecosystem, a very, very heritage kind of a culture, all get integrated in the example of Taj Hotels.